Nearly 100 women accused an OB-GYN doctor of sexual assault. And now that doctor may avoid any punishment or any lawsuits at all. 94 women claim they were sexually assaulted while getting medical care from Dr. David Broadbent in Utah. I'll speak with one of them in a moment. But the allegations range from unwanted groping to unnecessary rectal exams. The doctor has been practicing for about 50 years and is now being called out by numerous women, may not even see the inside of a courtroom. A judge throwing out the case without even looking at the evidence. The lawsuit, which was first filed over a year ago, revealed many of the women alleged Broadbent inappropriately touched them. Some saying he used his bare hand rather than a speculum or gloves or during exams. One of the women speaking up in the lawsuit against Broadbent is Stephanie Mateer. She was 19 when she walked into his office, and this is what she says happened.
He had me put on a gown and came back in the room and reached up the gown and did a breast exam. And it was not like flat palm, it was like grabbing. And then he proceeded to do a vaginal exam without any warning. But then I was even more shocked when he proceeded to do a rectal exam without any warning. It was super painful and just like really aggressive. And then, you know, as he was finishing up, he said, "Well, your husband's a lucky man."
This massive lawsuit accuses Broadbent of sexual assault. But in Utah, when medical professionals are accused of assault, the civil legal system treats it as a medical malpractice case. And Utah's rules make it a lot harder to sue for medical malpractice, including giving victims a shorter window to sue. Now, after being sued by the group of women, Broadbent quickly lost privileges at the hospitals where he worked, his medical license on hold as the investigation continues, and his prosecutors determine whether to criminally prosecute him. The women now appealing to the Utah Supreme Court, which has agreed to hear the case.
It does help me to have a little faith in the justice system that, you know, now the Supreme Court of Utah is taking on the case and they're interested in looking at it, and hopefully that will like set a better precedent for this, because we can't be calling sexual assault healthcare.
Let's be clear, these appeals are not easy to win. I sat down with one of the alleged victims, Brooke, and her attorney, Anthony T. DiPetro. Thank you both so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Brooke, let me start with you. Just tell us what happened to you.
So in 2008, I was expecting my first child. I had gone into premature labor, about 33 weeks gestation, and I was taken by ambulance to Utah Valley Hospital in Provo, Utah, and there I was given the doctor who was on duty, and that was Dr. Broadbent. I had only been there about 2 hours when he was saying that he needed to do an exam on me. And within that time, he did sexually assault me. At that time, it was my first child. I didn't know what was considered normal. And because it was in front of both my husband and brother-in-law at the time, I started second-guessing myself, thinking maybe I misunderstood what happened, or maybe it wasn't as bad as it seemed.
And did you talk to anyone at the hospital about what had happened to you?
So when it initially happened, it felt wrong. I didn't feel comfortable. So when I talked to my husband, we both decided that if we brought it up, it could impede the care of my unborn child. So we decided not to mention it and just to let it go. But for the week that followed, each time the doctor would come into my room, I would start to go into strong contractions and have severe anxiety. So my husband had left the hospital room, and one of the nurses that I really enjoyed came in, and I asked her if that was normal. She went and got a nurse manager, and they told me that they would escalate it and that I could have a different doctor for the remainder of my time at the hospital.
And how did you feel when you found out that there were all these other women who something had happened to?
I was blown away, but it also validated that I wasn't wrong, that it wasn't something that I made bigger in my head.
Let's talk about what's happened in your case, which is that you file this case. This judge dismisses it. What happened? What was the specific reasons that the judge dismissed it?
Well, so the case was never filed as a medical malpractice case, right? As we all know, sexual abuse is not a form of medical care. The defense lawyers for the hospital, for the institutions where Broadbent was employed or had an affiliation with, raised the question with the court to say, hey, these cases aren't pled properly. They should be pled as medical malpractice cases.
How are you feeling about what is happening with this doctor now? There's a criminal investigation that is ongoing. His privileges have been suspended, et cetera. What's your reaction to all of that?
It's definitely warranted, but I do think it goes beyond Dr. Broadbent himself. I think we need to hold accountable the institutions who gave him privileges at the hospitals that they own, and allowed this abuse to go on for more than 40 years.
Do you expect that he's going to be charged criminally?
Yes.
You have additional kids now?
I do.
How many kids?
I have 3.
How are they doing?
They're doing great.
Good. Brooke, thank you. Anthony, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you,
really
Dan.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.